What's up guys, it's Ed from Tech Source and welcome to Setup Wars episode 77. Now I don't know whether to call this the triple monitor edition or the ultimate edition since both of them do apply. But if you guys want to participate, make sure to watch the video, link below. But with that said and done, let the Setup Wars begin. If you guys are shopping around for your next game, make sure to check out g2a.com because they have the cheapest CD keys available for pretty much any game. I'll drop a link to them down below if you want to check it out. As always, you guys can find the gear to everyone's setups linked down below, but your 5 contestants for this week are Chase, Kyle, Tim, Yoan, and YAZEED. We have an awesome show for you guys today. Let's begin. Starting off the episode, we have Chase and his triple monitor setup, and that's probably the last time I'm going to say triple monitor setup in this episode since everyone does have 3 displays. I don't want to sound redundant. So it looks like he uses the left monitor for console gaming while the other 2 are for streaming or PC gaming in his case. So he has 2 different Asus monitors, all of which are hooked up to an ARM, and below that we have the Mad Catz Strike 7 keyboard and Mad Catz TE mouse, which I think stands for Tournament Edition. For audio, he is using the Altec Lansing 221 speakers and subwoofer system and a pair of Astro A40s hanging under the desk. The Astro A40s are used for his consoles, and he does have both Xbox One and PS4. By the way, both system controllers have custom skins from Team CR, which apparently he is the CEO of. I don't really have anything negative to say about the cable management. Looks like it's under control for the most part, and there is some sort of rack that's holding up majority of the cables. Finally, the PC that's powering this setup has an FX 6300 and a GTX 660. A well put together setup. Thank you, Chase, for starting off this episode strong. Kyle is up next. He's rocking a 24-inch BenQ monitor in between 2 27-inch AOC displays. On the IKEA Mickey desk, he has the Corsair K70 RGB keyboard paired with a Razer Death Adder Chroma. Talk about mix and match. For audio, he's rocking a pair of Creative T20 speakers and a pair of Astro A50s, which are resting on the wooden Omega headphone stand. I'm not too sure why he has a random AT2020 microphone just chilling on the desk without it being connected to anything. I don't even see a boom arm anywhere, let alone an audio interface. Cable management looks good, but I would definitely cut those extensions off the zip ties for a much cleaner look. The PC that's powering the setup has a 5930K and a GTX 1080 Founders Edition. A pretty straightforward and badass setup. Thank you, Kyle, for entering. At number 3, we have Tim with a very interesting style setup. So he has a Predator X34 ultra wide in between 2 24-inch BenQ monitors, which he has also mounted against the wall. That's a hell of a setup. Below the monitors are a pair of Argon speakers laying on its sides and a pair of Razer Kraken headphones. The keyboard of choice is the Corsair K70 RGB and the mouse is the Logitech G502. Both really solid gaming peripherals. You do have a few wires visible, and the extra one from the Razer Firefly isn't really helping your case. Now if I were you, I would drill 2 separate holes, one for the keyboard and one for the mouse and the mouse pad, and then route the cables through for a much cleaner look, instead of having to pass them through your desk. Normally I wouldn't recommend drilling holes in desks for most setups since that is permanent, but I see potential in this one and I would like to see you perfect it. The cable management under the desk though is excellent. The only thing I would grab is a cable box to hide the power strip in, but overall very solid work. But that PC though, a very sexy black and red water-cooled build rocking the 4790K and a GTX 780. I definitely think it's time to upgrade that GPU though. A headphone hanger for the headset and some double-sided Velcro holding the remote on your desk will help clean up the surface a bit, but overall a pretty badass setup. Thank you, Tim, for entering. I swear, these setups get better and better. Take a look at this one, god damn. The presentation is just perfect. I love the white, black, and red color scheme, and he did such a great job keeping everything consistent. Yoan is rocking 3 of the same 27-inch BenQ gaming monitors, and for the gear, he has the Corsair K70 RGB keyboard, M65 mouse on top of the Reflex Lab mousepad. I love the fact that you drilled a hole in the desk. Even though the desk itself is pretty expensive, I would say it's definitely worth it. Also on the desk, we have the Focusrite audio interface, which is hooked up to the Blue Yeti microphone. I didn't even know they made white pop filters. That looks pretty dope. Speaking of white, Yoan has a pair of Yamaha HS8 speakers resting on the stands. He's also using a pair of M50Xs for monitoring audio, and he's keeping those away off to the right side. Should I even bother going through cable management? I mean, at this point, I'm sure Yoan knows what the hell he is doing. Not only is everything routed beautifully near the back, but all of the wires are either sleeved or hidden. Superb job. And of course, we can't forget this beast lurking down below. God damn, this thing is running on a 3970X and 2 GTX Titan X's in SLI. The PC also has a ton of mods, from custom painted parts all the way to the cables. I'm definitely happy that you kept with the color scheme even in your PC. I'm personally not a fan of keeping such a beauty under the table, but I understand why you had to do that. I'm not gonna lie, I was very close in giving this the seal of approval, but the PC being on the bottom and the headphones being out of reach on the right side kinda changed my decision. But regardless, this is a fantastic setup, definitely one of the best I've seen on the show. Thank you, Yoan, for entering. And of course, we can't forget about YAZEED's setup. He's been on the show 2 times already, however this time he is back with a revamped setup and a new color scheme. He switched from his black and red theme to a black and purple, as you can see, and holy shit, where do I begin? You know what, let's go backwards on this one. Let's take a look at his beast PC. So it doesn't look like the specs have changed much. It's still rocking the 5960X 8-core processor with the MSI Godlike motherboard, 32 gigs of RAM as well. In fact, the only parts he has changed are the GPUs, because he's now rocking 2 GTX 1080s in SLI compared to the GTX 980s from his previous setup. Aside from the GPU swap, he's also repainted most of the parts to match his current color scheme, and he even picked up a fresh set of cables. Next to his PC, he has a very nice lineup of his consoles. He still has the Xbox One and PS4, however this time they have been reskinned to match his current setup once again. Alright, so now back to the main setup. So he's rocking 3 different monitors. The center one is a 27-inch 4K monitor in between 2 27-inch ROG Swift monitors. The only thing that's changed is that he added an additional ultra-wide monitor up top, which is the 34-inch Acer Predator. Now all of these monitors are mounted individually using the Freedom Arm, which gives him complete control over each one of them. Other than that, there's nothing else that's new in this setup. He's still rocking the Corsair Strafe RGB with the MX Master and a Reflex Lab mousepad. For the speakers, he is using the JBL Pulses, and finally in the center he has a controller stand holding up both his PS4 and Xbox One controllers. Cable management probably has to be the best I've seen on Setup Wars as of yet. It is flawless. Not only are all the wires hidden very well, but they are routed with such precision that this can be labeled as cable porn. What's more is that YAZEED did this on a glass desk, which in itself is challenging. Just about everything in this setup is perfected. I love the ambiance in the room, and there's plenty of personality from the figurines on the wall shelves to the posters and just overall consistency of the color scheme. I did say just about everything. Unfortunately, as much as I want to give him the seal, this setup is not perfect. And here's my reason before everyone comes after me with pitchforks. Much of the same reason why he didn't get the seal from my previous episodes still apply, but here they are anyways. You see, this setup is constructed mainly based on a color scheme without any regard to the quality of the products. YAZEED's mentality is that if it's black and purple, well, it belongs in this setup. That's not how setups should be constructed. Take the Jbl Speakers for instance. These are known to have distorted sound at high levels, so the overall sound quality is terrible compared to other Bluetooth speakers. I would put in some real quality bookshelf speakers or something similar instead of those. Also, the microphone placement is not practical. Sure, it's sitting on the right side because it's not in use, but you have to constantly move it to your desired location when you need to record audio. This is a fine example of YAZEED choosing looks over practicality. Sure, it looks better in that location, but how often is it really in that location? Number 3 is the mouse. Now this looks like a solid gaming setup, and hell, he might even use it for productivity and editing videos, which is perfectly fine. But why go with a mouse that is only meant for productivity and not gaming as well? Take my example for instance. I do gaming and editing as well. Probably I would say 70% editing and 30% gaming. I recently switched, or not recently, months ago I switched from an MX Master mouse to my new Logitech G900, which is an awesome mouse for both productivity and gaming, and it still matches my color scheme because it does have RGB lighting. In my experience, you don't have to pick one side, you can definitely get the best of both worlds. And finally, the last reason is that he's using professional monitoring headphones, but he has no audio interface. It kind of makes me question why you have the M50Xs in the first place if you're not taking advantage of its performance. Something tells me he bought it just so he can skin it in purple to match his setup. Do you guys kind of get what I'm trying to say? Seriously though, YAZEED, I'm in love with this setup and I think you did a phenomenal job with it. I'm not trying to crap on your setup by any means. I'm just trying to justify why I'm not awarding it the seal of approval, because I know my subscribers very well. They're going to attack me in the comment section. So that is why. In the end, guys, it is my award that I created and I can give it to whoever I want. But at least you guys know the reason this time. Regardless, this is an amazing setup, no doubt. Please continue to improve your setup and don't be afraid to submit again in the future. Thank you, YAZEED, again for entering. So that is it for the show. Drop your comments down below as always, guys, and vote on who you think has the best desk setup. As always, I'll announce the winners on my social media platforms on the weekend. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoy Setup Wars, honestly, if you spend a second and drop a like, it helps me out a ton. I love you guys so much. Thank you, and I will see you in the next video.